Welcome to our continued series, Questions and Answers from the works of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Consciousness, Part 19, from Sri Aurobindo. All the difficulties you describe are quite natural things, common to most people. It is easy for one, comparatively, to remember and be consciousness when one sits quiet in meditation. It is difficult when one has to be busy with work. The remembrance and consciousness in work have to come by degrees. You must not expect to have it all at once. Nobody can get it all at once. It comes in two ways. First, if one practices remembering the mother and offering the work to her each time one does something, not all the time one is doing, but at the beginning or whenever you can remember, then that slowly becomes easy and habitual to the nature. Secondly, by the meditation, an inner consciousness begins to develop, which, after a time, not at once or suddenly, becomes more and more automatically permanent. One feels this as a separate consciousness from that outer which works. At first, this separate consciousness is not felt when one is working, but as soon as the work stops, one feels it was there all the time watching from behind. Afterwards, it begins to be felt during the work itself, as if there were two parts of oneself, one watching and supporting from behind and remembering the mother and offering to her, and the other doing the work. When this happens, then to work with the true consciousness becomes more and more easy. It is the same with all the rest. It is by the development of the inner consciousness that all the things you speak of will be set right. For instance, it is a part of the being that has utsaha for their work, another that feels the pressure of quietude and is not so disposed to work. Your mood depends on which comes up at the time. It is so with all people. To combine the two is difficult, but a time comes when they do get reconciled. One remains poised in an inner concentration, while the other is supporting by it in its push toward work. The transformation of the nature, the harmonizing of all these discordant things in the being are the work of sadhana. Therefore, you need not to be discouraged by observing these things in you. There is hardly anybody who has not found these things in himself. All this can be arranged by the action of the inner force with the constant consent and call of the sadhak. By himself, he might not be able to do it, but with the divine force working within, all can be done. It is a little difficult at first to combine the inward condition with the attention to the outward work and mingling with others. But the time comes when it is possible for the inner being to be in full union with the Mother, while the action comes out of that concentrated union and is as easily guided in its details, so that some part of the consciousness can attend to everything outside, even be concentrating upon it, and yet feel the inward concentration in the Mother. It is a very good sign that even in spite of full work, the inner working was felt behind and succeeded in establishing the silence. A time comes for the sadhak in the end when the consciousness and the deeper experience go on happening, even in full work or in sleep, while speaking, or in any kind of activity. All should be done quietly from within. Working, speaking, reading, writing as part of the real consciousness, not with the dispersed and unquiet movement of the ordinary consciousness. The descent is that of the powers of the higher consciousness, which is above the head. It usually descends from center to center till it has occupied the whole being. But at the beginning, the action is very variable. It is only when the peace from above has not only descended, but established itself in the whole system, that there is a continuous action. The descent comes in order to transform the consciousness, but the transformation takes time. It is not done all in a moment.